A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, submission wasn't always enough to keep you alive. The Galactic Empire didn't just want to rule you, they wanted to own your future. And if your existence became even a minor inconvenience to the Emperor's grand design, you weren't just corrected, you were erased. Entire cultures, historical records, and millions of living, breathing souls vanished into the vacuum of space, leaving nothing but silence. Today, we are diving into the 3 most brutal, classified purges in galactic history, ordered directly by the Imperial throne. We will see how far the Empire was willing to go to maintain its grip on power. And by the end, you'll witness a slaughter so absolute, it broke the spirits of the galaxy's greatest warriors, turning a proud planet into a graveyard of glass. The sterilization of Geonosis. Shortly after the Clone Wars drew to a bloody close, the bugs of Geonosis thought they had survived the worst. They were wrong. Their queen, their hives, and their endless underground factories had just spent years building the ultimate secret, the mobile battle station that would later be known as the Death Star. Millions of Geonosians labored in total isolation, hammering together the skeletal frame of a planet killer. They knew the layout, they knew the design, they knew the locations of its critical systems. And that made them the most dangerous liability in the galaxy. Grand Moff Tarkin didn't believe in loose ends. The moment the orbital construction phase was completed and the battle station was moved to a new classified sector, the Imperial fleet moved in. But they didn't send stormtroopers down into the catacombs. They didn't engage in a costly underground war. Instead, they deployed something far more clinical. The Empire bombarded the planet with specialized, highly toxic chemical weapons. A weaponized gas designed to heavy sink into the deepest tunnels, suffocating everything it touched. Imagine being trapped hundreds of meters below a desert floor, listening to the agonizing screams of your hive brothers echoing through the dark as the air itself turns into poison. Millions of sentient beings choke to death in the dark, their lungs melting inside their exoskeletons. The Empire wiped out nearly 100% of the planet's population. Over 4 billion lives gone in a matter of weeks. When the Rebel Alliance later investigated the planet, they found a ghost world. A silent, dust-choked rock where an entire species had been systematically deleted from the galactic ledger, just to keep a secret. But as horrifying as Geonosis was, it was done to an alien species the Empire viewed as disposable. The next purge proved that the Emperor was more than willing to turn that same cruelty upon his most loyal subjects. Operation Cinder. The year is 4 ABY. The second Death Star has just exploded over the forest moon of Endor. The Emperor is dead. The Imperial chain of command is shattered, and across the galaxy, citizens are taking to the streets to celebrate the dawn of a new republic. But Palpatine was a man of absolute malice. He believed that if the Empire could not protect its Emperor, then the Empire had no right to survive. Before his death, he initiated a secret, automated directive. Sentinel droids, bearing the holographic face of the dead Emperor, visited select Imperial commanders with a final order: destroy yourselves. Operation Cinder was a scorched earth protocol designed to trigger climate disruption satellites over dozens of loyal, heavily populated Imperial worlds. One of the primary targets was Vardos. Vardos wasn't a rebel stronghold. It was a beautiful, loyal, utopian world that had birthed some of the Empire's finest officers and stormtroopers. The planetary commander, an unyielding Imperial fanatic, watched as his own fleet deployed massive satellite arrays into orbit. These arrays didn't fire lasers. Instead, they generated artificial, catastrophic superstorms. Within hours, the skies of Vardos turned a violent, bruised purple. Constant, blinding lightning strikes tore through towering skyscrapers. Super tornadoes ripped through pristine cities, and toxic ash filled the atmosphere.
Imperial soldiers on the ground were ordered to lock the civilian population out of the evacuation transports. Loyal citizens who had spent their entire lives singing the Imperial anthem were left to be torn apart by the very storms their government had created. They died begging their protectors for help, screaming as the skin burned off their bones. Commanders like Iden Versio broke, realizing that the empire they bled for was nothing more than a suicide cult. Palpatine burned his own empire to ash from beyond the grave, proving that loyalty to a monster guarantees absolutely nothing. The Night of 1,000 Tears. This is the big one. The purge that didn't just target a planet, but attempted to break the spine of an entire galactic culture. The Mandalorian people were the deadliest warriors in existence. Their armor was impervious, their tactics were flawless, and their spirit was completely unbreakable. For years during the Imperial occupation, the houses of Mandalore resisted, fighting a shadow war against the Imperial governor, Moff Gideon.
Eventually, the Empire realized that Mandalore could never be truly occupied. It could never be tamed. So they decided to turn it into an example. It began during a night that would forever be burned into the memory of the few who survived. The Imperial Navy surrounded the planet, launching a relentless carpet-bombing campaign utilizing heavy fusion bombs. The beautiful domed cities of Mandalore, marvels of architecture and history, shattered like glass under the heat of 1,000 artificial suns. But the bombing was just the first phase. Moff Gideon wanted to ensure that no Mandalorian could ever rebuild, so he deployed waves of KX-series security droids and specialized Imperial probe hunters. These weren't regular soldiers. They were cold, unfeeling machines programmed to track the biometric signatures of Mandalorian alloy and DNA. They marched through the burning ruins, systematically executing wounded survivors, children, and elders in the streets. The Beskar armor that had protected these warriors for generations became their tombs, melting under the intense heat of the plasma fires. The surface of Mandalore was literally scorched until it turned into a lifeless, crystallized sheet of black glass. Over 1 million Mandalorian warriors died in a single evening. The proud songs of their ancestors were silenced, replaced by the crackle of burning flesh and the mechanical hum of Imperial droids scouring the wreckage for scrap. Moff Gideon walked away with a fleet of Imperial transports loaded with stolen Beskar, leaving a proud civilization scattered across the stars as broken, starving refugees. Every single operation, from the silent poison of Geonosis to the fiery storms of Vardos and the glassing of Mandalore, was done for the same terrifying reason: to show the galaxy that resistance is pointless and that the Empire's wrath has no limits. They erased billions of lives, but they couldn't erase the memory of what they did. The ash of these purged worlds didn't suffocate the galaxy. It fueled the fire of a rebellion that would eventually bring the entire Imperial war machine crashing down. Thank you for staying until the very end. This exploration of the dark side of galactic history shows just how high the stakes truly were. Let us know in the comments which of these purges you think was the most unforgivable, and if you want us to cover more classified lore. Make sure to watch this next video on your screen right now.